She wasn't born into power. She was born into a world that was sick, forgotten, and fighting to survive. She didn't carry a scalpel, she carried language. She didn't wear a stethoscope, she wore determination. Annie Dodge Wauneka didn't just fight disease, she fought silence, shame, and the slow erasure of her people. Annie Dodge, the daughter of Navajo leader Henry Chi Dodge, was born in 1910 near Sawmill, Arizona, in the heart of the Navajo Nation. She was just 8 when the Spanish flu arrived and nearly wiped out her community. Her own mother was bedridden, so Annie stepped in. She cooked, she cleaned, she tended to the sick, and she watched how language, or the lack of it, killed. Unfortunately, the doctors sent by the government couldn't speak Navajo, and the people couldn't understand them. And that silence, that disconnect, cost lives. And Annie watched helplessly as her people died around her. Not because the disease was stronger, but because the system didn't care. Annie survived, but the memory never left her. She would later grow up to dedicate her life to fighting not just disease, but the silence and shame surrounding it. Annie, like many Native children, went to boarding school, where she was punished for speaking her language. But instead of losing it, she held on tighter. She mastered both English and the Navajo language, because she knew that healing required understanding in both directions. Now let's fast forward a bit. By the 1950s, tuberculosis was devastating Navajo communities. So Annie got to work, determined never to face the horrors of her childhood again. She translated public health materials into Navajo. She went door to door explaining tuberculosis, sanitation, and vaccinations. But she didn't just stop at speaking. She built clinics, literacy programs, sanitation efforts in homes that had been ignored for generations. And when the federal agencies that were assigned to help stalled out, she kept pushing. And when those outsiders tried to modernize the Navajo people by erasing their identities, Annie made sure that her people got both medicine and respect. Because to Annie, health wasn't just science, it was sovereignty. And in 1951, Annie was elected to the Navajo Tribal Council, making history by becoming the first woman to ever serve. And she got to work immediately. Clean water, better sanitation, nutrition programs, prenatal care. For 2 decades, she fought for policies that saw her people not as a burden, but as a nation deserving of care. And the United States government finally noticed. And in 1963, she became the first Native American woman to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. But Annie didn't do this for any of the recognition. She did it because no one else would. And she never stopped working, never stopped serving. Not when the budget dried up, not when her health faltered. Because to her, public health wasn't a program, it was a promise. Annie Dodge Wauneka died in 1997. But her voice still echoes across the mesas, in every clinic she helped build, in every mother who no longer has to choose between tradition and care. She didn't just heal the sick, she fought to make sure her people and their language survived. She healed a nation by never forgetting who they are.